One of the toughest parts of doing PMP is coming up with the title for the show. I'll give you an example. We were on a 5-day winning streak heading into yesterday's session. My first thought, win streak over, down 60 handles. But then I thought more rationally, what is this market? It is the buy the dip market. So I changed the title to rough start to the week. And what do? We climb all the way back, nearly green. The sparkle won't stop. What's going to happen today? We'll talk to Michael Hewson at 8:35. See what's going on across the pond. Here we go, folks. It's Tuesday on PreMarket Prep.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I can ask AI for titles too, but they won't be as good as mine, Funface. All right, S&Ps down 12.5 handles. We snuck up and made a new high for the move at 959.93.50. A little bit of a sell-off. Down 13 handles, 59.69. We'll see if that can be a 7-day winning streak. The buck down 12 cents. I'll find the support here at par. TLT bounced yesterday, but slightly in the red. Down 8 cents at 85.
Joel, your charts aren't up. Sorry to interrupt, but I had to.
That must be a bug with StreamYard.
I bet. Yeah. Gremlin, a bug.
Will you call them? Will you call tech support and find out why they weren't up?
Okay. I'll be right back.
Yeah, GLD up 59 cents to 98.62. SLV up 19 cents at 29.61. Bitcoin futures down $245 at 105,635. So let's bring in our trend following friend, Christian Fromhertz. Good morning, Christian.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to everybody. Hope everybody's doing well out there.
You remember when we had, it was Terrible Tuesdays for a while?
Terrible Tuesdays. Well, it could be a turnaround Tuesday.
It could be terror. Yep. But this market, all about buying the dip yesterday. Things are opening in. Who cares about Moody downgrading our debt?
I heard that they downgraded your title for the show. They're out there as well downgrading. So be careful about that. Sorry, bad jokes. Get them out of the way quick.
I mean, very aggressive buyers, off the open, didn't take out the pre-market low. And where did they go? What did they buy, Christian?
There wasn't much hesitation there right after the open. We saw a lot of buyers come in and a lot of scooping up of tech growth, high growth, momentum. But also I think there was good, I also saw some value names do pretty well yesterday too. So it just seemed like, I think that we've been through a couple of these downgrades, these credit downgrades. The first one that happened back in 2011, I believe, that hit harder, but people forget the one that happened with Fitch, which was 2023. And I think the S&P was down 1.4. So, perhaps the market getting a little bit, used to these downgrades, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. The first one is always hits the hardest, which was the S&P. So perhaps Moody's a little bit late to the game.
All right, bonds, we talked about that level. You get a level, it bounces off a level, it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. Down 15 cents today. I mean, you could look at the daily, weekly, monthly. Can we avoid a new low for the move in the bond market?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a nice recovery there in bonds yesterday. If you look at the 30-year bonds, they had a nice hammer bar yesterday. So, it kind of shows that there was some buying of the dip. I heard that there was, sorry, a little bit off topic, but I heard that there was a Japan auction that did not go very well last night, which caused some yields to go up there. But back here in the U.S., there did seem to be buying the dip, and for now the January lows hold for this year. So I thought that was somewhat positive, but I think at this point you got to keep one eye on those bonds for now.
All right, put your thinking cap on here. And have you ever heard bullish statements coming out of Jamie Dimon?
I'm going to say something bad. I'm afraid to say something bad here, but you never know if you're going to get the happy Jamie or if you're going to get the sad Jamie. I sometimes I say Jamie's crying.
Oh,
Sometimes
you took that right out of my mouth.
I beat you to the point. So it's tough with him. I used to say that. I used to actually say on Twitter, like, here comes Jamie Dimon talking. But it seems like the first thing that I heard out of his mouth yesterday was he started right in with crypto. And he doesn't like crypto. So usually that's a tell that he's not in the best of moods. But what was your takeaways from Mr. Diamond yesterday?
I mean, he said this, I don't know how many times, and then the with the Chinese wall and the research department, they'll come out and say, S&P's going 10,000 this year. So he always comes out with those dire comments. Does our crowd? I don't know. They're pretty young. They might not know who's saying Jamie's crying. You think they remember?
I think so. I think you gotta know that one. Come on.
Yep, they got it. Have you ever been to a Van Halen concert?
I know. I wish I had. I really like Van Halen, so they're one of my favorites. But yeah, I think the chat knows. Yeah,
Yeah, they
chat
do.
knows
They
Van
do.
Halen.
I just like to tease. I've seen them. I've seen the group a couple times.
Really?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, not recently, obviously, but yeah, all those crazy rock and roll bands. Yep. Back when I was a youngster. All right. Let's do some earnings. Right. We're starting our retail earnings season, and let me bring up. We get a beat out of Home Depot. Right, they're one of the first retailers, and after Home Depot, you always get lows the next day. Uh, Q1 4-cent miss, 356 versus 360, but they beat on revenue 39.86 versus 39.33. Guidance, that's okay. Now, different than Walmart, they've diversified their supply chain, and they are not going to be passing on any increases in prices from tariffs. I guess that the good news is the stock's trading up 762. The bad news to me would be it's $6 off its high at 393.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, they come out and they say better than feared. I mean, this stock has not been a great stock like over the last year, but I kind of like that bottom right chart that you've got there. That long term chart, the Home Depot monthly, kind of makes me interested in the stock for like the long term. Like I think it's a good name to own for the long term. They've just been kind of having some problems lately. We know that the housing market has not been particularly good. I still think that there should be, a lot of the spring weather usually does very well for Home Depot. They said that they still see comparable sales about this is for the full year forecast up 1% versus estimated 1.15. So kind of splitting hairs there. Still see sales about 2.8%, operating margin, earnings growth down 3%. So like they're saying here, a little bit better than feared in terms of U.S. sales and their guidance.
Hmm. If you were playing it on the numbers, and you probably had to be really quick, you had a good shot when you went through and we mentioned this yesterday, the trio of highs at the 380 level, kind of blasted through there, got over 392, 393 even as your pre-market high. I think it's very important for it to get back up to that level. Really, no daily levels to confirm that. If you're looking for more, you think the greatest report ever, you don't have to look too far. Pair of highs, if you get a continuation move back from the end of February and early March, right at 397. So to keep an eye on. And we know Lowe's reports tomorrow. So that's getting a little bit of a sympathy move, $3. But if I can remember over the years, it doesn't. They kind of go their separate ways. Both stocks, actually, Home Depot's close. Home Depot closer to an all-time high. Now they're both off it. So we'll keep an eye on those earnings reports. A stock that we used to talk about all the time had some earnings last night, and we just love to say the name Billy, and that's trading higher, 12 cent versus 6 cent. Sales beat 965 versus 947. I know Triple D was messing around in this one a little bit. Got a nice pop up to 1920. Pulled back, kind of sleepy here. Christian, I know this one's well, not too far below the 50-day. Technical fundamental takes on Billy.
Billy. This thing's kind of been quiet. I really haven't heard that much about this name recently. I would like to see, like, for a standpoint of, because it's been pretty sideways. I would like to see a move above 19, maybe to get involved in this name. But just seems like there's other names. Even though I think China's been kind of quiet. I don't know if we've talked about China like as a whole for a while, but it's been pretty quiet. We know, like, not Home Depot, Alibaba had earnings, I think, last week. Didn't have had a great report. So I don't know. I kind of been sidelined a little bit on the China trade. I don't want to fall asleep on this group, but I don't know. It just hasn't really been attracting me recently to be putting on anything really. I started to look at what's the big auto name over there? BYDD
How has that been doing? BYDDF, if my memory serves me correctly. Holy mackerel! Yep.
Yeah, it's been or BYD, I should say. Sorry, I say these names wrong, but yeah, it's at new highs. So I feel like if I want to get into to China, like, this has been the name that I've been kind of looking at a little bit. But again, you either have to just kind of close your eyes and buy this one for the long term. Because I think it might be a good one. Like, that would be the China name that I'm most interested in right now. Billy, I'm going to stay on the sidelines for now.
Okay, not. I think we can skip. Maybe just go to one more earnings report before we talk about the quantum stocks blasting off here. Viking Viking Holdings here. Don't call it a comeback, but holy mackerel, that's a really nice comeback for the stock. Unfortunately, they didn't like the earnings. They lost 20. Not too bad though. They lost 24. They were supposed to lose 28. They beat on revenues, 897 versus 842. So it's just a little bit of just like, whoa, big rally, $30 stock, now nearly a $50 stock. Just a little bit high bar for Viking Holdings.
Yeah, look, it looks that way, and I'm reading their just going through their earnings. I don't see anything too negative. They've made I think their earnings call is going on right now. They said Viking bookings were up year over year in April and May. The CEO said direct tariff impact should be minimal. They say it's tough to tariff a cruise, when you go on a cruise, but that's what I would think too. Viking says cancellation rates are in line with prior years. So they're not seeing anything there. Could be a case of the old run into the report. I like this company. I traded this a couple weeks ago. I don't own it now, but I kind of like the dip, $44. I think this has a chance to get bought up. I mean, you're basically retracing a week's worth of activity. So I kind of like this here around the 44 level. I would be, because again, I don't see anything that was really that bad. Perhaps the report's first quarter adjusted EPS negative 24 cents versus consensus negative 27. So maybe just that the fact that they're not making the EPS is negative, maybe that has something to do with it. But I would be a buyer here.
Yeah, these are kind of setups. I've heard you talk about before. During earnings season, high expectations, stock gets hit. I mean, I don't know if it'll turn out to be like a Palantir champ, right? But what's interesting to me is you went down to $44, and you got an easy teeny gap to fill here at 43.80. So I think if it
Oh yeah.
comes in, that was also the area of two highs when it broke out to its recent move, old resistance, new support. I would have, if you're short, I'd maybe say, well, can I get done at 43.81 and a half and see if you can attempt to rebound? Have a ways to go to get to the bottom of yesterday's range, 46.84. Just a quick check of the cruise lines. Carnival that came crawling back. That looks like a little bit over half of the move. The highest flyer, Royal Caribbean, that's just creeping back up, not too far from all-time highs. And NCLH, boom. That one's a little bit more of an underperformer here. But I mean, if you're worried about the consumer, well, don't worry. They seem to be wanting to go on cruises. So that's what we're looking at in the travel section. Moving on to a sector, Christian. I know you were looking at it at the beginning of the year, and it was the hottest thing, quantum computing, and we have a rally in the quantum space here. Let's check out QBTS.
Yeah, this one's been a high flyer and basically out to possibly new highs that we've got this morning. So a lot of momentum in this one. Option activities. This is something that I've been seeing in this name over the last week or so. 2.3 times usual volume yesterday. And let me see see if I could just give you the overall put call activity in it yesterday. Saw 179,000 contracts yesterday on the call side, only 57,000 on the put side. So pretty skewed put call ratio. They're buying a lot of calls in this one. And just check the open interest too, just in case you're interested in this, because again, it has been a name that I've seen decent option activity. July 15 straight calls. Those were your biggest open interest that I see for increases, about 4,300 contracts going up in QBTS. But yeah, whole group. I mean, it's amazing that this more speculative group has really come up pretty nicely, with this one actually being the leader right now.
And you know what it is? And I was just I was just discussing this with Lisa last night. I was talking about one day we're going to come up with a D wave. And the general availability of Advantage 2 quantum computer. The D wave. It's all about the D wave. That is what is driving this today. Tackles complex problems in optimization, AI, and material simulation. What else do you need, Christian?
Sounds good to me. I mean, you could just kind of see that some of these things, the price action kind of tells you, because some of these things are a bit over my head. I'm not a quantum chip expert, but you know, we've just seen if more of these are kind of hanging around the upper right of the chart, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty good. There is an ETF in this space, which kind of covers just more of those of the RGTI and the IONNQ, quantum QTUM, which has been inching up. I mean, this is almost taking out all-time highs as well. So again, it kind of just shows you what kind of market, or what this market is showing us right now, which is that want to be in some of these big growth names, or smaller growth names, I should say. But it's surprising to me. I looked at this last week and I was like, geez, this thing is almost taking out the highs of this year, which are right around $86. So not bad.
You know what? I'm gonna have to ask ChatGPT what all that stuff means. But as you know, what we like to do is look at stocks and look at them compared to other stocks, right? And put together a watch list. Like maybe if you miss the new, the initial move in QBTS, just a quick technical trading at the highs of the pre-market session, trading at new all-time highs. You know, what do you say? Just watch the price action, watch the open, watch the first 15 minutes, maybe do some kind of Fibonacci extension here. So that's what you got to take a look at. Let's take a look at QUBT. QUBT up a buck 03. 14 bucks would be the 50% retracement of that whole move. It looks kind of wide open from Friday's high. Friday's high was 1296. You're about to take that up there. QUBT, there we look at. Also these stocks. I think you've mentioned this one before. IONQ getting a boost here. Would have loved to see the offers going through 35.10, but that's in pass. So now old resistance do support. If this comes back down to 35, we'll be loaded with bids. Trading at the highs of the pre-market session. Really? Wow, where are all these highs here? Wow, 35 back then. Kind of wide open here, and you got the momentum, and you have the bullish wind, tone of the market at its back. So, not going to try and pick targets in this one. RGTI. Now that had some new. Did you mention some option activity in this last week, Christian?
Not RGTI. It's been mainly QBTS. I just wanted to add one more thing on QBTS. The short interest is 20%.
Ooh.
As you see the stock now raging up to about 1550. So you got, this is Tinder. You got option activity, which could provide a little bit of a gamma squeeze, and you got high short interest. So there you go. But yeah, animal spirits, I would say, going on definitely right now in the market with these quantum stocks doing extremely well.
I mean, there's definitely opportunities to short and things like that, but a stock with I mean, these are just the momentum, and you have the momentum of the market behind its back. So, I don't know. Like, if you have some targets here in this area, take them. But right now, the Bulls are in full control here. Staying on the quantum theme, what do we get here? We got a one. I know Triple D wants us to cover, but was there another one? Oh, QMCO. Man, they're great. They get the Q's in there. QMCO up 90. Ooh, this a little bit more of a sleeper. Like a major sleeper. I wonder if this had a reverse split or something. Quantum Corporation. That's trading up. Technicals are pretty much meaningless in this one. But if I had to give you a level, I'd give you the fit. Wow, nothing up here until, well, it's past this month's high. Last month's high is 1530. Then really opens up to the upside. ARQQ is on the move too. So Quantum getting a lift here today. Never heard of this one. Someone got the memo on this one yesterday. That had a big day yesterday, getting follow through too. And then the last one that we'll mention, or did I already mention? Yeah, I think Triple D has the QMCO. So I don't know what he likes about that, but looking good here in the market. Not seeing too much out here just in the overall market. In fact, we have been in a really tight range. We did make a new high of the move at 59.93.50, but have fallen back. I don't know. Did you mention some overseas maybe uneasiness? But that's where we're at. Only down a fraction, down 13 handles. Christian, you wanna go to some more Momo names that aren't in quantum?
Let's sure. I was just going to bring up one other point too with the quantum stuff, because I know Google at one point said that they were developing quantum chip. Just wanted to bring up that they have a developer event this week. So trying to shift the AI narrative. Maybe we hear something about during this event. Maybe we hear something about quantum chips as well. But they do have an event. I believe I believe it may start today. I don't know if you have the information, guys, but expected to showcase its latest advancements in AI, which could help ease concerns about rivals and its dominant position in web search. So, speaking of option activity, a lot of option activity in Google as well. The events, is that today or is that tomorrow? I don't know if you guys have that. Tomorrow, is it? Maybe.
It
We did.
starts it starts today and it goes till tomorrow.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Option activity that I thought was notable in this, because it does look like there's some pre-positioning, which I always find interesting. Some of these events, you have weekly calls trading in this one. The 172.5 calls, about 10,000 of these calls going up or increasing open interest. That's for this week's calls. You also have the June 167.5 calls that were very busy yesterday, increasing open interest by about 4,500 contracts. So Google, we could go through the technicals really quickly if you like, Joel.
Yeah, let's see. Wait, weren't they going out of business again? When was that? A lawsuit? Was it that a lawsuit? That big red bar? Or no, that was Apple getting into search, right? This big red bar here.
Yes, Apple decided that they were going to go a different route, perhaps in search. So big red bar, and another thing too with Google, they've been, obviously they're under the regulatory scrutiny, but I wonder if there's a chance that this company might be getting broken up at some point.
A little bit of financial engineering.
Yeah, I mean that might, that might spur. I mean, the sum of the parts. If you break these things up, you might unlock some value, which we've seen that from time to time. So, anyway, just wanted to point to that out that they have their big conference, and also seeing some option activity into it.
Weren't they supposed to originally? Yeah, spinning off YouTube. Wasn't the reason that they changed their name to Alphabet? It was they were going to expand and have a company with every letter. Or did I dream that up?
It sounds like an interesting theory. I don't know. I don't know about that one, but it's very interesting. That could be something that you dreamt up. I don't know if anybody else.
No, I think if we do some digging, maybe we'll have some Brentster do some digging in the background here. So let's stick with Momo here and Christian. We were talking about this one yesterday, and you love trends. Well, you got a trend here in CoreWeave. It was starting to move, and then got the vote of confidence from Nvidia. Boy, it was higher in the pre-market here. I know you've been in and out of this. Did we make a new all-time high? Yeah. Got it. I like a number for you folks. If you see this thing near 92.44, that's where people got a lot of excited in the pre-market. It's leaked $3 off that. Christian, does the leak concern you at all?
Well, I think that the leaks, or even if it does dip a little bit, I mean, I will stick with this one as long as it been doing what it's been doing. Which, you go back to earnings last week, and it dipped on earnings, which to me might have been like a breather for the momentum or higher growth names. But the dip was bought very quickly, and we've seen that the last couple days where we've seen some shallow dips, and they've been bought pretty quickly. So I've been kind of with momentum names. My trading style is I take profits. Once they rip 5-6%, get a little bit extended, I trim, and then I usually, as long as the trend is still intact, I look to kind of re-add, and I'll continue to kind of play that until it breaks its until breaks that short-term trend, which I see around like 77. So as long as it kind of stays above 77, I know we're getting close to 100, which also could be ultimately where it's headed to. We're getting so close to 100 that maybe that's the psychological number right now, that maybe we get up to 100 and this thing cools off a little bit. But I like names that are in uptrends. Now, of course, this one has been straight up when you look at your top right chart.
Mhm.
So you have to be cognizant of that, and I think that also is why I continue to trim into strength. But I just watch on a 1 hour chart that there's buyers that keep coming into this every time this name comes down. And I thought yesterday was a good example of that. Yeah, too. It was the first name that I bought yesterday. Just look at, because I was looking for a dip in this name. So we got it. It was a nice dip into 75. I mean, that was just yesterday where it was at 75. So you're talking about a nice name to day trade as well. This isn't a name that you really have to stay married to, considering the moves that you're getting in this thing. So, you could have been trimming a little bit here pre-market, and then maybe look to add. I see like the trend line right around like 84, 85. So, that's another strategy. But yeah, very nice mover. Very impressive since that earnings report.
And I'll just say, yesterday's high was 89.30. So I don't know if anyone's targeting that area, but the fact that it leaked off 92, and actually you got a firm seller. I don't know what the size was up there, but in three different hourly brackets, 92.43, 92.43, and 92.44. To me, that's someone that wants to sell some stock above 92.40. Who knows if they're peppering bids on the way down here? But if you're in it today, make sure you clear that high from yesterday, 89.30, and then you can look to see if you get up to that triple top. But that's just on the hourly. Sleepy stocks, right? You're looking what to buy, what to buy. What do you buy in a bull market? Now, we're not sure if this is moving off news, this old news from Coinbase, that they're going to be using Coinbase here. We have this up 98 cents. We have seen so many false rallies in this thing. In fact, yesterday, well, it didn't close at a new all-time low, but it ended up down on the day 50% on light volume. But the bull is back here, Christian. It's just another false rally.
Well, there was some news out, and I think we heard this the other day, but perhaps the timeline is faster. They choose Coinbase as crypto partner starting in June. So perhaps this headline came out a couple days ago, but maybe they weren't. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be as soon as June. But yeah, I mean, this is another one where it looks like dips are getting bought too, to some extent. Now this this one rallied all the way up to about $18. I mean, this is a volatile name, and all the way back down to 12. So kind of back into that range where it was trading in April, after it went all the way up to like I don't know, it's crazy move up to $60. I haven't traded this one too much. I've been sticking with Robinhood, which again has been,
Oh,
which has been just a really nice trend as well. Dips continue to get bought in this one. I had added to this one on the dip last week, and really getting close to those all-time high, not all-time highs, but the highs
recent
from,
highs.
yeah, from the highs in February. So I like this as a crypto play. We're seeing crypto sell off a little bit here this morning, down about 80 basis points. I mean, I thought that was also a nice risk on gauge yesterday, was that Bitcoin was, and the cryptos were strong yesterday. So taking a little bit of a breather today, which is fine. I can certainly add back. I trimmed yesterday with Robinhood. So I don't mind coming back to that one. There's one other momentum name too in the space that I thought would be interesting to go over to, which is MSTR. Been a little bit quiet the last couple days, but had a really nice candle yesterday, and came back above its 5-period moving average. So I like the pause over the last week in MSTR. Again, speaking of momentum and growth, and what this market likes right now, with retail coming in. But I'm watching MSTR. I think this is a pretty good setup here.
All right. Well, we can talk about all the U.S. stocks we want, but on this show, we go international. Let's fire up our guest. Michael Hewson, good to see you. He is the Chief Market Strategist for MCH Markets. Michael, how you doing today?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Very well, thank you. Sun is shining here. It's a bright spring day, and looking forward to going out for a bit of a walk later down by the sea. But yeah, the markets are matching my sunny mood today. FTSE's up, DAX is up. Things are looking pretty chipper this side of the pond.
And what do you attribute it to? Is it your earnings season?
I think by and large, the earnings numbers have probably been better than expected. Yeah, there have been some disappointments, but I think ultimately when you consider the negativity that was surrounding the UK economy back in October when Rachel Reeves passed that budget, the economy here in the UK has held up reasonably well. Retail sales have been strong for the last 3 months. That was a surprise to me, very much a surprise to me. And obviously the UK economy expanded by 0.7% in Q1. Now, you can look at the reasons for that. I think an awful lot of the reason for that was because we did see a lot of UK companies export to the US. We saw exports rise quite sharply. That contrasts obviously with your GDP numbers, which saw a big rise in imports, which caused a contraction. I don't for one moment think the US economy is in contraction. By the same token, I don't think the UK economy is probably as in good a shape as perhaps the numbers suggest.
And is the rally, where's the rally concentrated in your market?
Basically, US-based firms, Rolls-Royce, Babcock, BAE Systems, companies that do a fair bit of business with the US. I think since Trump dialed down the rhetoric on tariffs, and I think your bond market had quite a bit to do with that. It's kept him honest, and I think wiser heads have prevailed. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. We've seen a fairly decent pickup in those names who generally do a lot of business in the US.
BC Tokyo, I know he's been talking to me about Rolls Royce since it was like $1.6250. Now it's near $11. He wants to know if it could go to 20.
I see no reason why not. I mean, I think one of the things about Rolls Royce is, I mean, I paid 90p for them, and now they're around about £8. So, and I'm quite happy to ride this move higher because I think single modular reactors is something that is very much a fledgling business for Rolls Royce, and I think if they are able to secure the UK government contract on that, as an expert in nuclear technology for its submarines, I certainly see no reason why that particular business can't continue to go from strength to strength. And its other areas of business aren't likely to slow down that much. Civil aviation is looking fairly positive. IAG, the owner of British Airways, posted a fairly strong set of numbers only last week. And I think there's also an awful lot of negativity, I think, about airline travel, particularly to the US, by people saying, well, people aren't going to go to the US because of Trump. I mean, I've never heard such a load of nonsense in my life. You don't stop going to a particular country because someone you don't like is president. I think that's nonsense. I'm going again to the US in August, September to drive across the Midwest, Utah and Arizona. I love it there, irrespective of who's president.
When are you coming to Michigan?
Oh, I don't know, mate. What sights and sounds have you got for me there in Michigan? I know you got the Windy City in Chicago, but
yeah, well, you got the Motor City. The downtown is coming back, and northern Michigan is absolutely beautiful. The Great Lakes, so we can bring you that. But yeah, I mean, Utah, that part of the country is gorgeous as well. What about now? Trump kind of forced the UK hand in defense spending, right? And you mentioned Rolls-Royce, perhaps their defense unit pick it up a little bit. Talk about the defensive stocks and how they've been performing.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. Initially, we saw that we did see a little bit of a pickup in defense stocks, companies like Kinetic, obviously BAE Systems, which has gone from strength to strength pretty much since Russian tanks rolled over the Ukrainian border. But you've got companies like Chemring. All of these smaller FTSE 250 companies like Kinetic and Chemring have seen a little bit of a pullback. They're much more specialized. They tend to do artillery, dragon fire lasers, that sort of thing. But ultimately, I think going forward, the defense sector has probably been one of the sectors that's been underrepresented when it comes to investment because of stupid ESG rules and what have you. I would suggest that a strong defense, is the best deterrent to maintain the status quo when it comes to the way of life and what have you. And I think that was rather misguided, that an awful lot of fund managers and hedge funds were discouraged from investing in defense stocks. In the same way that they've been discouraged from, investing in fossil fuel companies. For me, this nonsense about net zero, it's not a 5 or 10-year plan, it's a 50-year plan. And you can wish as much as you like when it comes to net zero for the next 5 or 10 years. It's just not going to happen.
Hey, Michael, great to have you on the show. I was just going to ask you to, I mean, it's the performance of that EWU is, with UK basically breaking out here. A lot of Europe seems to be doing this as well. HSBC is one of the big names that are in the EWU ETF. Any take on what, I mean, HSBC sitting here at basically almost breaking out, or did break out to new highs. Also, when you look at just, not just UK banks, but overall European financials, EUFN has been on one hell of a rip higher here. What do you think is driving the strength that's going on in European financials? I mean, this is really, there should be more attention, I think, to what's been going on, considering that, of course, that, here we're focused on a lot of, what's going on in the US and we've had a lot of headline driven markets, but, to see this type of bullishness in European financials, I don't know if I've ever seen the UK and European banks break out like this. Do you think this is something that's, what do you think the reasoning behind this move is?
I think it's just generally the valuations are an awful lot lower. If you look at US banks, I think they're very highly valued, and obviously quite rightly. The US economy still looks in fairly decent shape despite all the negative news that you're seeing out of the US when it comes to consumer confidence and what have you. Let me take NatWest as an example, Christian. It's only just got back to its break-even price on its bailout, which suggests to me that ultimately it's still very, very low value when it comes to where it was pre-financial crisis. The same can be said for Lloyds Bank, Barclays, less so HSBC, but certainly I think European financials, there's always been a little bit of skepticism that they really haven't got their fiscal house in order. Certainly as far as the UK banks are concerned, I think they have. And I certainly think there's an awful lot of value to be had, particularly in banks like Lloyds and NatWest. Sort of full disclosure here, I do have shares in Lloyds. And I picked them up around about 40, 45p, and I've still got them. They're around about 72p now. But I still think there's potential for Lloyds to go to 18, 95p or even £1 over the course of the next year or so.
Is there we've seen? I just want to ask one quick follow up.
Sure, go ahead.
We've seen in the U.S. we were talking about things like Webull and things like Robinhood, which have really kind of catered to obviously the retail investor and the younger retail investor. Is there a play like that? Are cryptos, and is that really popular in the UK? And is there a play like that you would be pursuing to take advantage of the theme of catering to the younger investor and to retail investors?
Certainly not in the UK, Christian. No, I think one of the problems we've got here in the UK is that we're very much risk averse, or very much risk averse when it comes to retail investors. I think the regulatory hurdles are an awful lot higher here. The FCA has put in various rules and regulations in place to make sure that ultimately people understand what it is they're getting into, and they've made very high barriers to entry for novice retailers when it comes to financial services companies. So I think the regulatory bar is an awful lot higher, particularly if you don't have an awful lot of experience.
Gotcha. Thank you.
My pleasure. Was there anything else, Dennis?
Joel,
Sorry,
I think
Joel.
Joel's on mute.
I muted. I drank some water.
Muted.
The old new trick. Germany. Let's just talk about some of the other ETFs here. Germany looks at an all-time high here, all moving in sync. Any comments outside of England?
No, I mean, as I say, I mean, the DAX is almost, sort of a law unto itself. But what I would say about the DAX, it is a total return index. So I think the fact that it's at all-time highs is slightly misleading. If you do the FTSE 100 on a total return index, you'd probably get the same picture. So you're not comparing like with like. But ultimately, I think with Germany set to embark on a big defense spending splurge, then ultimately I think it's going to be a similar sort of theme for Europe as it is here in the UK. I think, Donald Trump has done the right thing, holding European leaders' feet to the fire when it comes to defense spending. For too long, they've been freeloading off the back of the US, and it's about time they started to pay their way.
Is there any trepidation here with the Ukraine and Russia that we've heard peace talks, non-peace talks? I mean, are you guys hurrying up to get the defense spending up for a reason?
Well, I think the only reason is that Donald Trump has basically made European leaders aware that they're going to have to basically pay more for their own defense, and quite rightly. Now, whether that will change in 4 years' time, who knows? But I think, it depends who's US president then. But I would imagine if it's JD Vance, which I suspect it might be, the picture isn't going to change that much. And ultimately, the world is a much more dangerous place. Not only is China becoming an awful lot more, I wouldn't say aggressive, but certainly I think pushing forward. But ultimately, I think here in Europe, we're going to have to stand on our own 2 feet an awful lot more. And let's not even get into the start with cyber attacks and cyber warfare. They're becoming more and more prevalent on a week-to-week basis. So further spending will have to be done there when it comes to critical infrastructure. So National Grid would probably be another name you'd probably want to be looking at.
Which one was that?
National Grid.
Okay.
I was just one more quick
which does
question.
business in the US as well as the UK.
So there was a powder out. So one of the strongest European country ETFs that I've seen is the Spain ETF, which is EWP. And again, it's tough to kind of understand, for me, like to understand like why this is so strong. We heard about it. I think that there's a power outage in Spain today. So I was wondering as well, if you had any color on the strength in Spain, and also, which you started to mention, any utilities or power names that you kind of like, either with the European theme or just particularly in the UK.
I mean, my particular focus obviously is here in the UK. So National Grid, SSE here in the UK. Other two probably biggest names when it comes to power infrastructure here in the UK. With respect to Spain, I think the outage today was a telephone outage, a mobile outage. Telefonica did a big upgrade and it went wrong. So it's completely separate to the power outage in Spain and Portugal that we saw about a month ago or a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was. But I think what it does do is it sort of focuses the mind when it comes to this move towards net zero and the risks. I think ultimately there needs to be a rethink on resilience and baseload as we move to a much more net zero type of power grid. And that's why I think your traditional mix when it comes to nuclear is likely to do fairly well, which brings me back to Rolls-Royce.
Okay, Michael, very positive tone from you for the U.S. and also Europe, your country as well.
I'm fairly positive on stock markets, Joel. I mean,
But you
the
are
only
concerned about one thing in April.
well, obviously, rising rates, that's going to be a problem. I mean, we're already seeing it here in the UK. We had a base rate cut last week, and yet the 5-year and across the curve, rates are 25 basis points higher. We've got inflation numbers out tomorrow, and they're not likely to make pretty reading. And I think my biggest concern going forward is that I think growth here in the UK, we've probably seen the best of it, and Q2 is going to be slightly more challenging. Basically, on the premise that taxes are going up in April, have gone up in April, utility bills have gone up in April, everything has become more expensive by around about 10 or 15%, and incomes haven't really gone up in line with that. So that's my biggest concern. I think an awful lot of the growth this year for the UK we've seen.
So spending that money leads to inflation. I think I've heard
Who would have
that.
thought that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I wasn't sick that day in economics. We've been on the line with Michael Hewson, and he has MCH Markets Insights. If you like his commentary, you can find that on Substack. Michael, it's been a while, but from the
Been a
comments that I'm
pleasure.
getting in the chat here, you're one good lad, and we want to have you back on again real soon. So
More
keep
than
an
happy to
eye
come
on
on
your
again,
email
guys.
box, and we want to get you on again. It's great, great content.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay, all right. Two Fed speakers at 9, like 3 at 9:30. Does it really make a difference what they say?
I don't think so, but I will be watching for headlines. They like to talk about talking, so I don't. It's crazy to me. Since you're bringing it up, they used to not have a press conference every Fed meeting, and I kind of wish that they would get back to that. They now have this press conference where they talk and they talk and they talk. Every Fed meeting, and we listened to Powell say wait and see 15 times in the last press conference. So I don't really know. I don't get why we need to hear more of them if that's all their approach is going to be, because we heard that yesterday too. I forget, because we had like 3 or 4 Fed speakers yesterday too. But if you're just going to come on and say wait and see, then just do that. Just wait and see and come back and tell us when things change. But yes, to your point, we got a lot of Fed speakers today.
Okay, real quick, some ratings changes here. And I won't say what I call this stock. We all know what it is. Trading down a buck. Asana. Asana gets a downgrade from Morgan Stanley. It had a nice little rally. Dustin Moskovitz is probably out there buying more stock. Christian, have you ever used Asana?
No, I never used Asana, and I think this hasn't the CEO left, I believe,
Is he left?
or he was announcing that he was leaving.
Okay,
The
I
main
don't
thing
know.
with the stock too is everybody talked about how he was incrementally buying, but he cashed out the majority of his stuff on the IPO, so it kind of always got
Okay.
lost. I always heard people talk about how he was buying, but the people never looked at to see how much he cashed out on the IPO. So anyway, no, I've never used it. Haven't really traded it that much either.
Okay, and then TMC Metals here. Wow, big day, low price stock, making a nice move today. Getting wow, some big follow through on this one. I believe we had. Do we have a ratings change on this one, or is it just Omomo?
We did have actually. So this is interesting. I mean, this is a name that I've heard a lot of people talk about as a play on rare earths. Again, it's deep sea mining, but very speculative. But hey, this is one to keep an eye on if you're into trading some lower price stocks. There's an analyst out from Wainwright saying that sees significant support from the current administration for deep sea mining. So there you go. They slap a price target on a 550, which is not that far away. At the time they sent the note out, it was about 24% away. But you're starting to see this stock rally, and short interest is about 10% of this one. So if you like trading, small cap momentum, I would definitely keep an eye on this one. This one's a good one to watch.
All right, Dennis is lurking in the background, and everyone only gets one guess what stock he wants to talk about.
What stock?
What stock? What
What
do you
stock?
guys think? You got
Let's
too
talk
much
Tesla.
energy.
Let's talk Tesla.
Oh, Tesla.
I haven't talked Tesla in a while. It was my baby last year. This is not the Tesla year. This has been the year of the non-Tesla. Remember, I sold it at the beginning of the year. Musk is speaking today. We know when Musk speaks, it's a catalyst for the stock. So if you're wondering why it's trading up $3, he is going to be speaking on Bloomberg at 9 a.m. So coming on here in 5 minutes. It is actually with the conference is, what's the conference, Brentster? So Bloomberg's covering it.
He's at the Qatar Economic Forum, the QEF. He's presenting there at 9:10. So assuming he's going to do the Bloomberg interview right before he goes on stage at the QEF.
Oh, is he going on Bloomberg itself too to talk? Or is Bloomberg just
He's going,
covering
as
it?
far as I understood, is Bloomberg TV at
Okay.
9 a.m. Yes, I
Okay.
think they're
And
going to
then
like
I'm also
start
hearing
there.
Bill and a couple of people on Twitter are talking about it too. I will call it Twitter forever. That he's going to be on with David Faber at 2 p.m. as well. So when you get Musk speaking, multiple times, we know Musk tends to talk up his stock. I did buy some stock for a trade into this. We will see how that goes, but it is often a catalyst. I mean, if he says something, off, then that's not going to be a catalyst. But everybody always gets excited when Musk is going to speak because he usually talks his stock up. So keep that in mind. If you're trading Tesla here today, there is a catalyst. Musk, we will be tuning in and listening to it live in the STN room. So 3 minutes left here. I just want to pop in and say hi to everyone here too. People are always asking, where's Dennis? Where's Dennis? We're trying this new schedule where we got Christian and Joel just on Tuesdays, giving me a day off, rest my voice. I'm talking so much in the STN room, I need to rest my voice every once in a while. So we're trying that out. So if you're wondering what's going on. A couple other stocks just, on my radar here too. You covered the quantum names really well here. Just sleepy stocks. I mean, there's been a lot of, sleepiness and not so much in tech, but in other sectors here. And I just want to ask Christian this as well. Do we start seeing some life in other sectors? Because they bought the dip in tech. We saw the UNH dip get bought, obviously, in the last week, obviously with, the insider buys. But healthcare is starting to perk up just a little bit. Does the sleepy trade spread? And what I mean by that is looking for stocks that are beat down. Does it start to spread outside tech? I want to ask Christian that question.
Well, I was also thanks. I was also watching the overall biotech group yesterday, which was pretty strong. I mean, sometimes sometimes when I talk about a sector, if it's kind of down in the dumps, I talk down about it. But I'm always trying to make sure that I'm aware of when something's changing. And I thought biotech was particularly strong. There's got to be a couple companies I think in biotech. You could see it's kind of trading okay this morning too. But I would be open to kind of, I've said this for now about a week or so, but I would be open to looking at a play or two in biotech. It's been so cold, but perhaps the UNH rally that we're seeing can kind of pump some life into some of these biotech names that have been pretty beaten up. I still like TMDX. I think that was a name that had really good earnings. A lot of these therapeutic names have been doing pretty decently. So maybe for a rotation. I also think the financials have been doing pretty well too. I mean, we've talked obviously a lot about some of the smaller names, but yeah, I'm kind of looking a little bit at some of the smaller biotech at this point.
I think so. And you know what I was looking at too, and I'm already long, it is Sarepta. Starting to show a little bit of life the last couple of days because it's been left for dead. And I think you're right, Christian. I think the UNH rallying as much as it did from the lows has got people sniffing in healthcare and in obviously biotech as well here. So just keeping an eye on this one. It's starting to show a little bit of life after, just being destroyed here. So keep an eye on SRPT. I am long.
Just a quick note on that. I talk about seller exhaustion, finally taking place, and it's taken a few days from your 15 and 20 million share down days. You've had a couple up days. I mean, it's been on lower volume, so you don't, that's not the greatest side, but I think that the big boys that wanted out are out. And the question is do any big boys want to step up to the plate? And and make this a bullish issue. So, all right, we got Buzz coming on. I just want to, if you guys haven't tried out STN today, perhaps today is the day to do it. We have Michael Pachter coming on, and he'll be on at 10 o'clock. And we've covered this, but not great detail. But Apple had a loss in district court on its anti-steering rules. And he really thinks that's going to transform the mobile game companies and ad tech companies that deliver ads to mobile game customers. And he knows his sector. He thinks it's a really big deal, misunderstood. It creates a lot of opportunity. So he's made some good calls in the past, and he's also a lawyer. You know, he lawyered us through that Activision Microsoft deal. Remember when he pounded the table on that? So that's it for today, folks. Trying to keep that 6-day winning streak alive. We'll see if the Bulls are up to the task.